Hello YouTube. Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting in a Fan. Good evening to all of you in YouTube land. I hope and pray that all of you and yours are happy and healthy, safe and well. Right now the time is approximately 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and the date is Wednesday, November 24th, 2021. The moon is waning in Leo, and the sun is transiting in Sagittarius. All of this fiery energy, hence the red. Anyway, I'd like to welcome you to the November 2021 entry of Llewellyn's 2021 Tarot Calendar. And of course, Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audio-visual person for my YouTube videos, is going to have some close-ups for you. So first, here is a close-up of the gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous front of the calendar. And now here's a close-up of the back of the calendar, back of the gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous calendar. And now I will show all of you the November 2021. And of course, I will show all of you the main part. So, we have The Hanged Man from the Tarot in Wonderland, written by... It's strange, I could have sworn I heard something. Sorry. We have The Hanged Man from the Tarot in Wonderland, written by Barbara Moore, illustrated by Eugene Smith. I have all but one of the tarot decks illustrated by Mr. Smith. The Edgar Allan Poe tarot deck is coming. A different way to learn the cards, and the What Exactly Am I Doing spread. I can only imagine how many of you in YouTube land are like, what the fuck am I doing with my life, with my relationships, with my job? This spread is for y'all, by the way. Ms. Moore has her insights about the Hanged Man. I will share some of my intuitive insights as well. But let's dive right into it. So the Hanged Man. This card has a wide range of meanings, including sacrificing comfort for enlightenment, peaceful acceptance of things that cannot be changed, seeing things from a different point of view, acting like a martyr, and being a traitor. I didn't know about that one. That's very interesting. Then again, there was a time when people were hanged for a crime. Some of you know that I love mysteries, and one of my favorite mystery shows is Murdoch Mysteries, which is set at the turn of the 20th century in Toronto, Canada. And in that country at that time, when people committed a crime, especially murder, they were hanged. So my interpretation of the Hanged Man has intuitively for the longest time been surrendering and releasing attachments. And, you know, I've had my own experiences about holding on to things, which really is another topic for another video for another day. But what I've discovered in my own life, and especially from a metaphysical perspective, is when I want something and I'm too attached to it happening or too attached to the outcome, I tend to repel it energetically. So, you know, and as somebody who's to teach prosperity classes, I definitely find this when I am too attached to physically manifesting money, when I'm too attached to physically manifesting clients, I'm energetically repelling them. When I'm just going about my business and doing what I need to do, it's like I cannot keep the money away and I cannot keep the clients away. I cannot tell you how many times I will begin my day at Notions and Potions with every intention of doing meditations and prayers and affirmations to attract money into the store and clients to have readings with me and goddess energy healing treatments with me, and I never get the chance to do that. And then within a very short period of time, I begin losing track of how many clients have met with me just in the store. So I'm crystal clear that by focusing on what I need to do and what I need to get done, even if I don't have the opportunity to do the affirmations and the meditations, I cannot keep the clients away, I cannot keep the money away. So I tend to look at the Hanged Man card intuitively as surrendering and releasing attachments. Not to mention the fact that in virtually every tarot deck that I've ever used, the Hanged Man card has the Hanged Man, or the Hanging One, literally hanging from a very, to me, loosely tied binding around one ankle from the branch of a tree. Now, you know, this bitch, this witch would be like, ah! I would be like, you gotta get me the fuck down, and in a way that saves my life, if I was hanging like that. So really. But there's always this sense of peace. I mean, look at this. I'm gonna have Drake do a close-up. Look at that. Look at the Mad Hatter's face. He's just sipping a cup of tea, and he has a piece of toast in his hand. He's like, whatever. I'll just hang around. You know? And it just fascinates me. I'm like, you know. I'm reading what it says, but I can't make out all the words, so I'll save that for the description box. A different way to learn the cards. Think of a real life situation, then pick a card that would best represent it in a reading. For example, a wonderful first date might be the Two of Cups, or a contentious meeting where nothing got done could be the Five of Wands. This type of practice will make your readings more specific and practical. I love this, by the way. You know, one of the very first tarot courses that I ever took was a wonderful tarot course, and the person who led it had this wonderful way of making the major arcana cards come alive. Unfortunately, the method didn't work for me because I almost never read about celebrities. Like, I remember she talked about Mario Andretti for the Chariot card. So for those of you who always read about celebrities, that's a wonderful way to learn about the tarot. Like, if you are always reading about celebrities, if you follow celebrities on social media, that is a wonderful way for you to develop a deeper connection with the tarot. Major arcana and minor arcana, and certainly court cards. You can think about the different celebrities that would be represented on tarot cards. I only follow a small number of celebrities. I mean, off the top of my head, I follow Beyonce on Instagram. I follow all of the individual and collective members of Pentatonics, including the former original member, Avi Kaplan, on Twitter and Instagram. And I follow Todrick, also known as Todrick Hall, on Instagram and Twitter, and that's it. I do not recall any of the celebrities that I follow on social media. So I'm definitely not somebody who would benefit from seeing which celebrity would be, featured on which tarot card. Although you could do it another way. You could certainly think about some of your favorite fictional characters that could be represented on the tarot. Like Harry Potter on the Magician card. That's one of many examples, because I have no doubt that there are plenty of fictional magicians and magical practitioners that could easily be on the Magician card of the tarot. Now, before I get to the tarot spread, the Sacred Fae have absconded with my copy of the Wonderland Tarot, Tarot in Wonderland, because I've looked for it on several occasions this past week, and I have not found it. So unfortunately, I'm going to wait until the Sacred Fae return my copy. Hopefully they will return my copy before the next time that I go to Alice's Teacup. because I have plans to return to Alice's Teacup early next year. In fact, I actually have an opportunity to return in January, which I actually am very excited about. So, you know, and that just came to me. So one of you out there in YouTube land knows exactly what I'm talking about. So I decided that I would use a tarot deck that, even though it's not an inclusive tarot deck, pardon me, I'm having a glass of water with a combination of lemon juice, lime juice, and apples, and 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, and I don't think that my throat is liking it very much. But I wanted to get some extra germs out of my body, so I figured that would be a great way to make that happen. So with that being said, I'm using one of my personal favorite tarot decks, in spite of it being a not inclusive tarot deck, and that is the new Palladini Tarot by David Palladini. I would love to love the imagery of his Aquarian Tarot, but it just, there's something off about it for me. You know, in several other videos I've talked about how the High Priestess card must meet my standards of Isisness for me to be able to use that deck. And as much as I love the image of the High Priestess card from the Aquarian Tarot, there's something off about the imagery of that entire deck. But the new Palladini Tarot is just gorgeous to me. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the spread. I will include the spread description in the description box. But the spread is called What Exactly Am I Doing? It is a 5-card spread. And it says here, it is easy to confuse your job with your soul's purpose. That's a real thing. It is easy to confuse your job with your soul's purpose. Okay, I did not know that people actually experience that. I never, because in my mind, my positions of employment never were my soul's purpose, or as I love to call it, my divine life purpose. I actually had no idea that that was a real thing. I'm actually a bit shocked. And you know, I'm a psychic and a witch. It takes a hell of a lot to shock me. But your purpose can be expressed through anything and everything you do. This spread can help you find your purpose in even the most mundane things. If you aren't happy with card 5, do another reading to discover what changes you can make to bring more of yourself to your work. Who knows, I might do a part 2 about this, but for right now, I invite all of you to play along at home, because I know that for me, especially as somebody that's never confused my positions of employment with my divine life purpose, I could do this once and be okay with it. But anyway, so I'm going to do another quick shuffle of the tarot. I did a very thorough shuffle prior to beginning this video. I'm going to do a quick cut. Okay, so card number 1 represents you, because I'm doing this for the collective. So card number 1 represents you in YouTube land, as well as me, as well as Drake, more commonly known as my awesome audiovisual person from my YouTube videos. And yes, there will be close-ups. Card number 2, what are you doing? Card number 3, what are you doing? Who are you doing it for? Card number 4, what do they need from you? Card number 5, how are they changed through your work? So this is definitely what I would call a combination focused and comprehensive spread. So I've already cut the deck. I'm going to pull from the top. So Drake, are you ready? Are you sure? Okay. So what exactly am I doing? Card number 1, you. I'm going to have Drake do a close-up of the back of the card design, which I love because it is this lovely variation of the Ouroboros, the snake that eats its own tail, or the snake with its tail in its mouth. And then I'm going to show you the front of the card design, and then I'm going to look at the card and interpret it. It is the King of Swords, so you. with regards to your position of employment or your career and your divine life purpose, there is a need to be focused. There is a need to be laser focused. This is one of the few tarot decks where you can see the sword in the King of Swords' hand is fully erect, meaning it is not at an angle. So the King of Swords, especially in the new Palladini Tarot by David Palladini, is very focused, laser focused. He is not swayed inappropriately or inaccurately. He is very focused on what needs to happen, on what is not, and on the difference between X and Y, this and that, here and there. Now, let us say for the sake of argument that you are not there yet. You're moving in that direction. I'm also going to say that for most of you in YouTube land, you are not confused about the difference between your position of employment, your job, and your divine life purpose. Card number 2, what are you doing? So I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person for my YouTube videos, also known as Drake, do a close-up of the front of the card. I'll have him do a close-up of the back of the card design a little bit later on. So card number 2, what are you doing? 4 of Swords. You are looking at the relationships that no longer serve your needs. You are removing people from your life that are physically draining, emotionally draining, mentally draining, spiritually draining, energetically draining, that are toxic, the psychic vampires. You're probably also looking at the things you no longer need. You know, in spite of the fact that I live in the Northern Hemisphere, I tend to do autumn cleaning as like most people would do spring cleaning. So it's usually an autumn time when I begin to remove the things that I no longer wear, that I no longer use, that I no longer like, that I no longer have, that no longer bring me joy, that no longer serve my needs. So I feel that all of you in YouTube land, or at least the vast majority of you, are starting to do that, or have been doing that for a while, and it's become a lot more prominent for you at this time. As Isis, the alpha female, confirms that with a hiss. Isn't that right? Hissy. Hissy. Card number 3. Who are you doing it for? Isis, 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 Isis. Living with cats. You're doing it for your best friend. So are you doing it for your best friend and you, or are you doing it just for your best friend? Which begs the question, why aren't you doing it for you? First and foremost. Card number 4, what do they need from you? So when I say they, or when this spread says they, I'm going to say your co-workers, your supervisors, and your collective community. What do they need from you? Queen of Pentacles. They need the money. So, this begs another question. Are you making plans to leave the position of employment you have for another one? Honey, 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 what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? Oh my God. What's the matter? Come on. Want me to pick you up? Is that what you want? Is that what you want me to do? Pick you up? Does that make you happy? I bet that makes you, because you're purring. Well, you were purring. Okay. I'll bring you down. Well, that went well. If you are planning to leave your current position of employment, I commend you, because if you're planning on leaving, you have a valid reason for it. I don't question that you have a nonsensical reason. I do not even consider that you have a nonsensical reason for leaving your current position of employment. What I will say to you is make sure that you have everything you need to leave your position of employment and either begin a new position of employment or begin a new endeavor, such as a self-employment endeavor, a freelance endeavor, or maybe you just need time off because you need to regroup. And there's a lot of a need for regrouping, especially after the initial COVID-19 outbreak. So yes, by all means, regroup. How are they changed through your work? So I'm going to have my awesome audiovisual person do a close-up of the back of the card design. And I'm going to have him do a focus on the front of the card design. Knight of Pentacles. How are they changed for your work? They see something different. They are given something, whether it is more money, more revenue, more opportunity. And I also feel that this applies more to what you do currently professionally in your job or in your career. That is, if your career is not metaphysical, magical, or mystical, or directly related to your divine life purpose. Maybe there is something that you give them that is not even necessarily related to money. Maybe you are giving them a sense of groundedness, a sense of centeredness. Maybe you are helping them be more stable in other ways. And the final message card is the Empress. Anything you do, whether it is your position of employment, whether it is your career, whether it is your divine life purpose, make sure that you infuse as much, I could say this so many different ways, but ultimately, given the nature of the Enchanted Empress, make sure that you infuse as much divine love as possible into it. Make sure that you bring as much divine love into it as possible. I know that for some people, doing that in a position of employment can be very, very challenging. But I'm going to ask you to do the best to bring as much divine love into your place of employment as possible. And I will happily do this spread again when I find my copy of the Tarot in Wonderland. Hopefully the Sacred Fae will give it back to me, because as some of you may recall, I had 2 copies of the Black Cat's Tarot, which was published by Lo Scarabeo, and I told the Sacred Fae that I was not going to buy a 3rd copy, and of course they laughed because they knew that is exactly what I would do. And yes, I did buy a 3rd copy, although surprise, surprise, I found my 2nd copy after I did. So now I have 3 copies of the Black Cat's Tarot, and yet I only know where one of them is, which, by the way, it is over there. Yes, I know. Now, I do love black cats, but even I do not need 3 copies of a black cat themed tarot deck. Oh, and the guidebook, I have no clue where it is. And I seem to recall buying it as a kit, so that's all. Anyway, as always, to all of you in YouTube land, thank you so much for honoring who I am and what I do. Thank you. Oh, hold on. Backtrack. Thank you to Llewellyn Publications for producing and offering once again a tarot-themed annual. As somebody who is happily in lust with the tarot, I could not tell you how disappointed I was that Llewellyn stopped publishing a tarot-themed annual, and after a decade resumed offering a tarot-themed annual. So I am very, very happy that they're doing that again. And if you do not already have your copy of Llewellyn's 2022 tarot calendar, I cannot encourage you enough to buy a copy for yourself, for somebody else, because the more copies of this calendar that they sell, that are purchased, the longer they will keep publishing it. It is that simple. So it makes me so happy that they already have the 2022 edition. So thank you to Llewellyn for publishing a tarot-themed annual again after an entire decade of not having done so. And of course, thank you to the Barbara Moore, living goddess of the tarot, for writing this calendar. Thank you to those of you who have purchased this calendar. Thank you for those of you who pre-ordered it. Thank you for those of you who have given it to yourself, to others, to yourself and others. And of course, thank you to all of you in YouTube land for all the likes, all the comments, all the shares, and all the subscriptions to my YouTube channel. Thank you to those of you who have scheduled your sessions, and thank you to those of you who have bought me a coffee. I am well aware of the fact that tonight is the night before Thanksgiving. I am well aware of the fact that not every country celebrates Thanksgiving, but as I have often said, online and off, gratitude and praise are daily for me. If I wake up in the morning and I draw breath, I must express gratitude and praise at least 3 times from the time that I wake up until the time that I go to bed. I must. I cannot live my life any other way. It does not matter to me that tonight is the night before Thanksgiving. I express gratitude and praise every day that I wake up and draw breath at least 3 times. Although since I mentioned Thanksgiving, there are people that have invited me to their home that have a standard rule when it comes to Thanksgiving. You can take your first bite after you say what you're thankful for. And I used to honor that. I used to say, this is what I'm thankful for. And then they were like, you know what? You can tell us the rest afterwards. So now the few times that I've invited somebody's home for Thanksgiving, I start with, well, I could do that, but don't you want to eat this food when it's hot? And they're like, oh, you're right. Okay, afterwards you can tell us. I'm like, yeah, because that way the hot food will have been consumed, and yeah. So yeah, if you invite me to your home for Thanksgiving, you don't want me saying what I'm thankful for while the food is still hot, because the food will no longer be hot by the time I'm done. Anyway, thank you again, and of course, stay tuned for the next video.